Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoble, and you're on the lifeboat, and it's Friday morning, people. It's not your average Friday morning either. It's not your run-of-the-mill Friday morning. Know what I mean? This is the last Friday before Santa comes to town. TGI Lifeboat. And I am super impressed with us, right? We've gotten all the way to the 22nd of December, right? Well, good to see you, Kath. I'm glad that you're here. Kathy takes us with us everywhere she goes. Very often, that's the treadmill at the gym. If you've never checked out Kathy's channel, can I get a wrench to throw a link up to Kathy's channel? Another one of the unbelievably talented people that we have on the lifeboat. You need to see this woman play the clarinet. It's nothing shy of amazing. It really is. It's she's got the hang of it. She's really got the hang of it. My blue shirt coordinates with my coffee cup, according to Stay Spirit. I'd like to tell you I planned that, but I did not. Kathy says new content today. People, you should stop by. I'm telling you, it is she really has the hang of it, right? This is she's not messing around on it. She's a concert trained musician, and she's remarkable.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, my brother says I'm jealous, says Johnny Scoville, and he should be. She really does have the hang of it. But I'm glad to hear you're putting up new content. This is the time of year. That's awesome. Hey, Plant Freak, glad that you're here. Righteous Monkey. I didn't know that we had Righteous Monkey here. That's a pretty cool handle, too. The Puffinator. Hey, Kathy, what's your name now? Get anybody, buddy. Greetings, Johnny Scoville, Christy Caldwell. I am glad that you are here. I really am. Christy's another one out there fighting the good fight. You know it? For real. And I don't just mean
not to get blocked.
I just mean just trying not to get blocked by Chase the Heat. That's what she's trying to do. Kevin Hawthorne. There he is. Hey, Kevin Hawthorne, do me a big favor. Do me a big favor, Kevin Hawthorne, and write in my comment section, you have permission, Tommy, because I've actually got some stuff ready to do all about you. I'm not going to roll it today. Maybe I will roll it today, but I won't roll it in this video. We're going to do the Friday video. But if you give me permission, I did go and find the thing I was talking about, and I would really like to highlight it on the boat. It's really lifeboat stuff. It's right in line with it. Balake, have you been? I hope you're having a great day, Balake. Hello, Martha. Martha, I want you to know that yesterday I was having a conversation with Mama Scoville. She had been shopping, and she may have been with my sister, but wherever she was not behind the wheel of the car. So she was watching the lifeboat and said she was really impressed with your comments. Can you imagine the pressure of telling the stories that I tell and knowing that your mom may or may not be on that particular lifeboat?
I think about that a lot.
Isn't that rugged? You know, my mom, it's like Russian roulette with my mom. For real. Ma Scoville will jump on the lifeboat at the drop of a hat. But she will say to me sometimes, text me if you're going to do a lifeboat that you don't want me to see or that I'm not going to want to watch. And there are times I do. Oh, and I do have the standing order. Hey, maybe don't watch me on when with Reese. Right? I am going to absolutely go with Moms Are the Best. I'm a pretty big fan of them across the board. I am a fan. These days, I feel like I got about a half a dozen of them, if you want to know the truth.
cheese and bread.
You know what, Tammy? I'm sorry. I really am. And you know what? This is one of the things that is really, I went right by. I didn't see this comment. I'm really glad that Johnny Scoville is here. We move pretty quick these days, people. If you ever put something like that up and man, I don't catch it, maybe wait about 20, 30 seconds and put it up again. This one's for you and your family. 4 years that's a long time. I was out a really long time, Tammy C. Speaking of mothers, I've the conversations I've had with my mom about the time that I was in the wind, you know. I want to apologize to my mom in case she's watching this morning, and to every mom that's in the same position you're in. It's I can imagine it. Sadly, there have been times in my life where I did not know where my son was at all, and not because I didn't know when he was in prison. It was very hard to keep track of anything that was going on in his life. We corresponded, but if he changed a phone number or if anything like that happened, but there was also a time where Mike was unavailable to anybody, and we didn't know where he was, and it was a very, very difficult time. It really was. He's been in drugs and alcohol since he was 14. That's when I started. 13. I wasn't starting on heroin at 13, but that's when I started experimenting and screwing around. Pot. I tried smoking pot the first time when I was his age. But I'm not preaching to anybody here, right? I do preach, by the way, but I don't do it to anybody here, right? This isn't the platform that I do it on. But whether you believe that it's the universe or it's a lot of people, creating positive thought for one person, a power greater than one, right? There are 129 people right now who I promise you, Tammy, are really thinking good thoughts right now about your boy coming home and coming home safe and just being safe where he's at, and I apologize to you just because I did it too. I did it to my mom. And when you're in it and you're in the life, it's not, you can do it without feeling guilty about it. And then when you get sober, it is the worst thing in the entire world. You know what, Kath? What an amazing thing. I've never had anyone ask me this. Do you realize that? I'm not even joking that in all my life, I've never had anyone ask this question. At 13, you wonder why drugs or alcohol at that age. I think I can explain it, at least in my age, right? I really can. And for me, I think it's really quite sad because I think I had the gene to be a drug addict. I think that, I know drug addiction is a disease, and I also believe it is hereditary. And science backs me up on this. To what degree and to what level, they will argue, but it is definitely passed on through, from parent to child, and or can be. So I think I was a ticking time bomb, right? But the first time my parents talked to me about drugs and said, you say no to drugs, but it was built up to be such a boogeyman that I really believed that people who smoked pot, you would be able to recognize these people from 25 feet away, right? Because I had been told that these people basically were going to look like Satan, right? Or Charles Manson. These people were going to, we had been showed the movie Reefer Madness. In all sincerity, we had been showed the movie Reefer Madness, not as a punchline or as this is what we used to do to try to keep people off drugs before we had a brain kind of a thing. They showed it to us in all sincerity. What? They tried to sell it. So when two of my very close friends, one of whom, by the way, went to the New York Military Academy, right? He went to NEMA. So he would come and hang out in the summers in the country. But I just thought this was one of the coolest dudes on planet Earth, man. Like I really thought this guy was cool. I liked being in the proximity of this dude. He was different than everybody I hung out with. And first off, he was what do you think Matthew was? I mean, as far as ethnicity,
sure.
he was not white. I'm not exactly sure what his nationality was. Yeah, but where we grew up, everybody was white. So the fact that this dude wasn't white made him cooler. Still he was, he was dark skinned, and there was nobody dark skinned where we lived. So, I mean, he was just the coolest dude that I knew. And we were talking one day, and he was like, I said, "Where have you been? You were going to be here an hour ago." And he was like, "Oh, we were smoking weed under the bridge." He's like, me and so-and-so. He's like, he rolled up 3 joints and he got a new pipe. We wanted to smoke on it. And I just looked at him like, "You were doing what?" I'm like, "Oh, shut up, dude. You weren't smoking weed." You know what I mean? Like, shut up. Because if he had been smoking weed, he would have been screaming, "Get my reefers," or trying to jump off of a bridge or something, right? I would have been seeing something so much different than what I was seeing. There's no way that somebody could have smoked pot and looked like this dude, because that's not what they taught us. What they taught us was you were going to be able to tell when somebody, was wasted on this stuff, because it's that profound an effect.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
It was that's how it was portrayed to us, was that it was thank you, by the way, Johnny, that it was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That once you took that first hit, you were never ever going to be the same, and you were going to look so much different than other people, and you were going to turn into an instant fiend. You were going to attack women. You were going to be stealing everything that wasn't nailed down, and just instantly become like, you're going to go from a guy that sung in the choir at church to the gnarliest 1% biker that ever lived, off of a film from the a sexploitation film of the 70s, that kind of situation. So sitting and looking at my 2 friends who were not only not like that, but one of them, right, the white dude, seemed a little bit less aggressive than he normally was. He seemed just a little bit nicer than I had ever seen him. And it didn't make any sense to me. And I even said to him, I was like, have you ever seen that movie they showed us in school? And because my friend went to the New York Military Academy and was only there for the summer, he said, "I don't know what you're talking about." But my other friend, whose name was Darren, Darren said, "Reefer Madness? Bro," he's like, "you realize that's absolute BS." And they talked to me for a minute, and he said, "Look, try it. Why don't you try it? I mean, they're lying to you. Try it once. If they're telling you the truth, right? Let me look at us. If they're telling you the truth, right? You try it once, you run like hell, you never do it again." But I think you're going to find you're being lied to. I mean, that's literally the sales pitch I got. I think you're being BS'd. And then as we walked down to the bridge, and a little, it was actually just under the bridge, there was a path that went to a little park bench that's still there, by the way. I go back every once in a while and I go sit on the park bench where I smoked weed the first time and think, maybe if I had avoided this bridge, my life would have turned out considerably different than it had. I mean, I know for a fact that if I had successfully avoided that bridge, that my life would have turned out really, really different than it did, to be sure. But they also gave me the pitch on the way to the bench, where he said, "Now, know this: you don't get high the first time you smoke it." And I went, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you don't really get stoned the first time you smoke it. You might have to do it twice." I said, "That's not going to happen." You know what I mean? Like, I'll do this once. And I had smoked cigarettes at that point, probably 2 of them. And I knew that when you sucked in smoke off of a cigarette, it kind of felt like somebody gave your lungs a bear hug, right? It was a terrible feeling. If you remember, the first hit off a cigarette was not pleasant. And I had not used cigarettes long enough to get past that. So the only feeling I knew from smoking anything was horrifying. And I said, "Look, I will give this one shot, man." And he goes, "Okay, look, you can do that, but you got to take the biggest hit you can, and you got to hold it as long as you can." I am, if nothing, right? I follow directions. That's one thing I got. And I also have lungs that are larger than other people's considerably. Like when I was in the joint, they came to do an ultrasound, which they do for certain individuals at certain ages, but they ultrasound all of your organs. And apparently, one of my lungs is considerably bigger than almost everybody's lungs on Earth, like considerably. And then my other lung is just a little bit larger than that. My lungs are not the same size. He thinks that had something to do. He said, you probably took a really, really hard shot on one side as a young person. And I would say I probably fell skiing and landed on the side of a mogul, because I think I pretty much remember the day I did that to myself. I mean, I peed blood for about 2 weeks. I mean, I really took a shot to the side. It was awful. Jen Nelson says, just stopped in to say hello. Have to go to my other job. Happy holidays. Please be safe. And you made it. It's the weekend. You're almost there. Kelly, there is only one type of stupid question, and that is the one asked on someone else's channel. Why does weed smell so nasty nowadays? Really? Back in the 70s and 80s, there was a distinct odor, but it didn't smell like today's weed. Just wondering. Well, what happened is this. Going back to the early 70s really is when it started to get into the mainstream. There were guys doing it long before that. But in the 70s, it started to become commercialized, where people started to take strains of marijuana and breed it for certain characteristics. And the term skunk weed, which had gained traction, became popular, started to be bred into it was a very desirable trait. It was really good pot. So that very pungent smell, the stronger the weed, usually the stronger that smell is. You're really smelling, the best of the best. M. Hunt, you know what? Mention the green and the man arrives. Kelly, that's a personal problem. Smells heavenly to me. He is a proponent of the green substance. There are people who have used this very successfully in harm reduction in their life, and to those people, I'm more than happy for them. I really am. It's for those who are struggling with weed. My heart goes out to you. There are people for whom that drug is a real struggle, and there are people for whom it seems like it is absolutely the answer to all prayers. I can't answer that because I'm not the person who's doing it, right? But yeah, skunk weed was you heard that one quite a bit. But the more what happened is that this stuff just continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger. They are breeding this stuff to make it stronger. They're also breeding it to make it taste better. They're breeding it to make you sleep on it. They're breeding it to make you think on it. They're breeding it. There's so much going on now in that industry. And they're also doing stuff to try to, believe it or not, eliminate the stuff in there that's tough on lungs and whatever. Home with the C+ math. Thoughts and prayers. That sucks. That is such a terrible thing. I hope you are breathing well, that it's not in anything, any part of you that's down into the lungs, but we're praying. Yes, the only stupid question is the one that is asked, not here. Spellbreaker says, I do not smoke weed anymore. It is not necessary. You know something? That's kind of where my dome is at. But I just thank the Lord that that's where I'm at. I do need to take other things. So I don't judge anyone that's taking that route. I don't. It is not my get down at all. I promise you that is the truth. Hold on. I saw a comment I think I probably ought to talk about. Yeah, there are so many more varieties. It is so different. I do think that they are definitely taking Mother Nature in directions that Mother Nature would have taken a million years to get without us, right? The cross pollinations and the strains that are coming out and the levels of THC that are coming out in nature would have required the perfect storm every single year for a very long time to create the kind of things that these growers are creating. Henny from New York City, the city so nice. They named it twice. Acapulco Gold, Purple Groovy. Yep, that was big back in the day too. I thought that pot wasn't addictive. Am I incorrect? Well, yes and no, right? Yes and no. You're never going to become physically dependent to marijuana. You're not. By definition, is it an addictive substance? Technically, it is not. However, are there people who are continuing to smoke weed in spite of very negative things that are happening to them in their life because of that? Yeah, there are individuals who are doing that. And by my definition, that would mean that those individuals are addicted. I worked with somebody last year, a young woman who was pregnant for the first time and found out she was pregnant and was very dedicated as a mother. She said, I am never going to put any drugs in my body while this child is inside me. She had been a daily pot smoker for a really, really, really long time, like age of 15 to about the age of 23. And at 23, when the time came to pump the brakes, I've never in my life dealt with anybody that seemed to struggle harder to quit a substance than this person did. Now, by way of full disclosure, this person was doing other substances as well when the time came. But the only that when she found out she was pregnant, but the only substance that she was doing daily and had done daily was cannabis. And this girl went through hell for about 120 days. Like it was touch and go hell. This was as frightening a scenario as anyone I had ever worked with. Now, that said, there are absolute gaggles of people around the globe who are able to use this substance seemingly daily without much problems in their life at all. Now, I do not judge people's drug use on marijuana. I don't judge your drug use on cocaine or heroin either. I'm not here to be anybody's conscience or tell anybody not to do anything. I'm here because if you're struggling with a substance that is causing you to not live your best life, I understand what that feels like, right? And I was able to get off a pretty rugged substance that I don't consider, right? Like when people talk about drugs and they talk about cannabis, as a guy that stuck needles in his arms so that he wouldn't be sick every day, I have a real hard time wrapping my dome around weed in the same way that you would think about heroin or cocaine or methamphetamine. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't. Now, full disclosure stuff, every night, 25 minutes before I go to sleep, I take a product called Mellow Vibes. Mellow Vibes is a product that is THC and CBN at a 2-to-1 ratio. I take one dose of that, so it is like 10 milligrams of THC to 5 milligrams of CBN. Is that what I said it was? CBN? Does that sound right? CBN, and it puts you to sleep like that. I have never felt a buzz on it, with the exception of the night that I had a migraine, and I will never do that again. I had a migraine, and I thought, you know what? I'll just take this because it puts me to sleep instantly. Like, I mean, if I take it at the kitchen table, I probably will sleep at the kitchen table. I mean, it hits me so fast, and I just fall asleep. So I thought, if I can fall asleep, this migraine will go away. And I took one of these, and it will not work through a migraine. It's not going to, put you to sleep if you have a headache. It's not a painkiller. So what I was I had a pretty good buzz and a really, really bad headache. And the two were a terrible combination. I didn't much enjoy that, but I live and learn. If I have a migraine ever again, I'm not going to take that to try to go to sleep. It wasn't, I'm not much for that buzz. That buzz is not, it's not the one that I think you have to have stayed with it, if that makes sense. I think if you quit smoking for 25 years, right, and you go back, you're going to find that the substance that they have created ain't the same substance that that they're selling now, not by any stretch of the imagination. But do I think pot is addictive? I do. I think to some people it can be absolutely worse than anything. The reason that I ended up, and people are gonna shake their heads and bum out about the fact that I eat this stuff before I go to sleep. And that's cool. You know, I don't judge anybody that comes on this boat. You want to judge me, you can do it. I wouldn't do it in the comment section because people are going to get bummed out, right? Because they're not big on that. But the reason that I do the gummy, and I'm going to get 100 emails, I promise today, that says THC is a terrible way to go to sleep. Here's 50 others that are better. And they're going to lead with Benadryl, right? The active ingredient in Benadryl, which is diphenhydramine, or they're going to talk about stuff like trazodone, which technically is not a sleeping pill, but works for a lot of people to get people to go to sleep. Here's the deal. I don't have a problem going to sleep. I have a problem turning off the memory of the stuff I talked to you about yesterday. You feel me? It's not about falling asleep. That stuff makes it so that I don't dream that the guy across the hall from me at Lewisburg is stomping out my brother or my daughter or son, because that's normally what my nightmare is. My nightmare is reliving that instance across the hall with the inability to do anything about it, right? The inability to get through the door, and the person getting stomped out is somebody that I love. And you know what? There are people on this boat that have become so much a part of my life that occasionally one of you will be getting stomped out as well, which is just lovely, isn't it? Lady Spellbreaker, thank you. Everybody see that link right there? Lady Spellbreaker is she'll be on the show. She's been on the show before. It's an amazing, amazing individual that set down drugs. By the way, just got her driver's license back after, I want to say it's been a couple of decades, about the same amount of time I was without one. But or no, it's been 13 years, I think, without a license is the last thing but she'll be coming on. She's been able to put away everything, you know. I shouldn't say that. But there may be the occasional there may be some occasional psilocybin, but Lady Spellbreaker is an absolute just a wonder. And she had made me some pain medication that I got that was out of made from no psychoactive ingredients, but made from the non-psychoactive part of the cannabis plant. And I've been using it as a painkiller, and it's done unbelievable on the left side of my body, where I just have hip problems really bad from sleeping on my left side the entire time I was in prison. No, I'm not even being funny. Almost every convict will make a decision to destroy one part of their body, one half of their body, because you're just going to hurt both halves if you roll over a lot. So most guys will just kind of pick a side and stay on it as much as possible. But boy, oh boy, does that do you different. Trazodone is the problem with trazodone is it's not really meant to be a painkiller. And we're all adults here, right? Because I got a really funny story about trazodone. You can get a buzz on trazodone, right? It's not a good buzz, but if you're in prison, it's a buzz. So I was in the SHU, the segregated housing unit, and I didn't have bad paperwork. And my cellmate didn't have bad paperwork. We were two solid guys, right? So a dude, the cop comes up and goes, "Hey, we need to bring a guy up here, man. And we want to put him in your cell." I said, "There's only two. You're going to put a guy on the floor on another mattress?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Why is that?" He goes, "Because every other cell back here that's got a white guy in it has got a white guy with bad paperwork. He's either a rat or a freak, a chomo, whatever." And we were like, "All right, you know what? If the guy's got good paperwork, screw it. We don't want him, stuck there." And like an idiot, right? This was in July. Like an idiot, I said, "Yeah, we'll take that dude." I was in the SHU for 16 months, and I was never, ever just two guys in the cell ever again. We always had three. For 4 or 5 of those months, we had 4. Because same thing, they'd bring a guy up and go, "You know what, man? Do you think you could get one more mattress on the floor? Or am I going to put this dude in with somebody who he's going to have to attack?" Because the politics of that place, if they put him in with somebody like Danny Masterson, then he has to attack that guy as soon as the cop is out of the hallway. And if he doesn't, then he's the next one that goes into the rotation to getting the crap kicked out of him and run off the yard. And I know this doesn't make sense, and I know there's no logic to it. And I assure you, I had no hand in the assembling of these policies, but that is how they work. So I would continue to take one person after another. And then occasionally, no joke, like we had 4 people in there, and the guy comes up and says, "Hey, man, We got a guy that's just has to be here until 5 a.m. when they're taking him to medical. But they have to watch him to make sure he's not going to eat anything. It's that like rugged a procedure, and you can't trust a convict. So they had to put him in the shoe where he wasn't allowed to take anything. So 5 guys are in the hole. And when the guy comes in, he goes, first thing the dude says, they didn't pat me down. They came and grabbed me out of a unit and did not pat me down. And we're like, wow, that's crazy. He's like, my socks are filled with pills. He's like, I was making a run for somebody, man. And he's like, there's no way I get these out and then back to my friend. He's like, we're like, leave him here, right? Leave him here. We'll take him. We're stuck in the shoe. Leave him here. And there was a whole host of pills this guy had, and a bunch of them were trazodone. Trazodone has a side effect that only affects men in a bad way. Can't, by nature, affect women the same way. It causes priapism. Oh. And it doesn't cause priapism in 1 in 1,000 people, right? It's actually a very, very common side effect. So much so that it is listed in the very top indicators. So this guy goes off, does his thing. We never see him again. But now there's 4 of us in there with a duffel bag full of really a bag about this big rolled up. So it was like a Ziploc bag. There was probably 100, 125 pills, and it was a lot of pills. So everybody's asking questions. What's that one? Anybody know what these are? And they all kind of turned to look at me because I was just that degenerate, and my memory kind of works that way. So I'm the amateur pharmacist, I guess, or recreational pharmacist. But I said, I know what these are. These are trazodone, and they're like, are they fun? I'm like, you know what? No, but for prison, maybe, and I'm describing what trazodone can do. I'm like, and it will definitely help you sleep. The guy's like, any terrible side effects with this thing? And I'm like, yeah. Do you know what priapism is? And he's like, no. I'm like, it's an erection you can't get rid of. And he's like, oh, it doesn't sound like horrible. I'm like, no, I don't think you understand. You ain't getting rid of it. It's not a matter of like, you're not getting rid of it. You may have to go see a doctor kind of thing. After telling this, everybody in the room took 2, right? So I don't know that you can say the odds are 1 in 4 that someone's going to get priapism, but that day, the odds were 1 in 4 that somebody was going to get priapism. And our boy lost the lottery. The funny part is this. Anything that might come to mind, like maybe I can work through this on my own. How do you do that in a room with 4 guys, right? And no partition, no divider, no nothing. So that's not much of an option for dude. But he doesn't come clean to this. He doesn't say 45 minutes into this, hey, fellas, I got I got this thing. I may have some problems, right? There's no talk of this. Not 4 hours later, right? When you should make that phone call, right? If an erection lasts longer than 4 hours, seek medical attention. He did not. But the following morning, when the nurse arrived, he did a dance that only the men in the audience know what I'm talking about. But he did everything within his power to not look like he was suffering from priapism in the position he was standing in. And he walked up to the food slot and tried to, on the down low, say to the nurse, if at all possible, I would like to be removed from this cell so that I could talk about something incredibly personal without these guys behind me hearing it, because they're going to mock me incessantly. That is what he said, but I don't think he said it that way. And being the kind and caring people that they are in the BOP, the woman's like, spit it out. I don't care. What's your problem? Talk to me. And he's trying to, hey, I got this, So finally she spits out loud. What, you got an erection you can't get rid of? All right, how long have you had it? Now everybody behind, we're all going like this, looking at each other like, oh, yes. Yeah, he had the whole night, stay spirit. So the BOP being the BOP, they got medical attention up there in an instant. So about an hour and 45 minutes later, somebody shows up at the door to remove him, and they've got a wheelchair. And dude's like, I don't need a wheelchair, man. He's like, it's not, I can walk. And they said, with all of us there, that, yeah, but when you're coming back, you may need this. So they removed him, and we found out when he came back how that process happened. And guys, if you're thinking that there's a really pleasant way that they make that go away, right? Like a really, really pleasant way. No, there's no pleasant way at all. It doesn't require film or looking at pictures of anything. It doesn't go down like that. It goes down with a very large needle, apparently, that takes the blood out of that area.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Good morning, men on the lifeboat.
Intermitting to that.
Yes. And that is why I am only doing one show a day. No, for real, that, yes, they do. There you go. That is what they do, and not in a good way. So he came back, and the word salty, as in really, really angry, does no justice to, because he's now coming back to three really unkind convicts, right? Whose sense of humor runs to the really unkind. So we came back and everyone's doing this one, right? Everybody in the room is going, right? Everybody's waiting for somebody to fire that first shot across the bow so that we can all feel, comfortable mocking him now at our own speed. And I don't remember who started with it, but the first statement that rolled out was, "Hey, look, in Rock's defense, he did say that this is the big side effect of this." Because everyone in the room was wondering, I wonder how angry he is at me. So that was the first statement. Yeah, look, in his defense, he did tell you this could happen, right? You did it anyway. He's like, holy crap, I'm never doing that again. Thank you, Mr. Obvious. But yeah, so that's my trazodone story. It never affected me that way. Yet since that day, I fear it the same way he does.
What are the odds that guy will ever take another?
Well, I assure you that that man has taken his last trazodone. He'll not take another. He made it quite clear to us. He said it in so many, he worded it so many different ways that I think, even just from his own words, I can say, there's no chance that our boy will ever, and this is not a guy who's burdened by deep thought. Let me tell you this guy's story because it's worth a laugh. And then Candy, I'm going to leave this up here because we're going to talk about it. But let me tell you the story of how this guy got into the joint. Right? I'm sitting in a cell with this guy when they first brought him in. Same story. Will you guys take a third cellmate? He was, yeah, we'll take him. Comes in and we say, well, the guy says you got good paperwork, so you may as well spit the story, right? What are you in here for? And he went to jail on a DWI. And he goes, well, I got a DWI. No, you don't go to jail on a DWI, right? That doesn't happen. You could go to prison or you could go to state, but you're not going to the feds on a DWI unless that DWI happened on, let's say you did it in Arlington National Cemetery. You got a DWI. You're going to federal prison. If you did it on federal land, or if you did it in a federal park, or if you did it on a reservation, right? And you're a Native American, there is a chance that you could go. But normally, so we're looking at him because he's a white boy. We're like, you got a DWI? He's like, yeah, I got a DWI in Illinois. But when he gets in there, they tell him, hey, your dad just got arrested, right? And they're telling him the story, boop, boop, whatever. So he's calling his mom to find out what's going on with his dad, right? So he's made 30 or 40 phone calls from in jail. Knows how the phone system works pretty well. He bails himself out. Dad's still in there. Dad calls him on the phone. Now, keep in mind, if you make a phone call from a jail or a prison, it starts like this. This call may be recorded and monitored, right? And it says it every 4 minutes, right? Every 4 minutes. Hey, this call may be recorded or monitored. They break up your conversation to record the call. Nevertheless, this guy got on the phone and his dad said, I'm in deep trouble, man. Like the case they got against me, I'm looking at 35 to 40 years, right? I'm dead to rights. And so the kid goes, how's that possible, Dad? You know what I mean? Like no one, he said, because I bought drugs from this person. The only evidence they got, you understand, son? The only evidence they got is this person and this person's testimony. And the kid was like, oh, bummer. Sounds like they got a case, huh? Yeah, but they only got a case because of this one person, right? And he's not picking it up. Like the kid's a dump truck. But his dad, who's a horrific human being, finally says to him, if this person wasn't around anymore, they wouldn't even have a case. I'd be coming home. So the kid goes on a recorded phone call. I don't even know where I'd find a hitman, Dad, because I don't think I could do it myself. But I'd hire a hitman. I just don't know where I could start. And our government being the kind people that they are, well, they found a hitman for him, right? They found a hitman. They made sure that that hitman crossed paths with him, right? They found a friend of his, and they went to that friend and said, man, go get loaded with him tonight and see what happens. See if they talk, blah, blah, blah. And that's just what happened. He went, and one of his friends was like, started talking. I heard your dad's locked up. If that ain't entrapment, I don't know what is. But dumb boy did it, you know? And let me this is to everybody out there that is stupid and might break the law in this fashion. Let me tell you something. If you're talking to somebody about arranging a hit, right? The person you're talking to probably works for the police. I promise, right? Hitmen don't go around talking to people about doing hits. I mean it. It's really the way that whole process goes down. You wouldn't believe it. I did time with people who went to prison for this, and how that whole process goes down is nothing like anything you see in films or anything like that. It's a bizarre thing. And real hitmen, right? The going rate's about 40 grand to remove somebody from the planet. So when you hear these guys on, in true crime, or you hear them on court TV or whatever, and they're like, well, I gave them $600 and I was going to give them an additional $6. You got $1,200 worth of money. You got your money's worth, right? This person's going to put a handprint on the door, right? And when that person gets caught, it's all going to be over but the crying. You know what, Kelly? The dark web, this was a real rash for a long time, right? I think that the dark web is something that I don't think most people get the way that, right? It's a very, very odd. You know what, Susie Q? You would assume, right? But that right there is how it goes down. That's the truth. That's how it goes down. The people that do it that way. For real. That is how you hire a professional to do something like that. And before you do, and you walk in and you talk to that guy who's not the normal attorney, he's the fixer attorney. He's the one that works in the law office that has never tried a case in his entire life, right? In his entire life. The comment feed is stuck for you. Back out and come back in. TVK for life. And I hope everything is still going smooth. If it's not, get back up and dust off, right? It's just like backing out, coming back in, right? So let's talk about smoking and trying to quit smoking, because our friend said, I've tried patches, I've tried this, I've tried that. Okay. I would say, and I'm going to get so much hate mail for this, you're not going to believe it, but there is a ritual that is very much a part of the addiction that you're doing. I've told this story many times before, but they used to make a beeper look just like a pager. And they would say, smoke. And every time you smoke, tell the pager when you're smoking. And, you go and you get up in the morning and have your shower, have a cup of coffee, light up that cigarette, hit the button, go through your day, hit the button, have sex, hit the button, fall asleep, start your next day. And you do that for a week. And then what they're going to do is they're going to allow you to smoke, but they're going to break up. In fact, they may give you more cigarettes than you used to smoke, but they're not going to let you smoke them when you want to. They're going to tell you when you smoke them. And you're going to find that it's not nearly as much fun if you're not allowed to smoke after you eat, right? Or maybe they have you smoke right the hell before you eat, which most smokers probably aren't going to do because it's not great on taste buds, right? And all kinds of things that they did to break up the scheduling. And the theory behind it was you attach so much to the ritual of what you do that by changing it up. And there's a bunch of evidence to back this kind of thing up. Science says, for instance, If I sit right here at this computer every single day for the next 3 years, and before we do the lifeboat, I lay out a gram of cocaine and I snort it in 4 lines, right? And I get gacked, right? And I'm vibrating like this through the entire lifeboat. But I do that every day, and that's what I do, and I do not fail. I can build up a tolerance to where I could probably take that to 2 grams over a period of time. Now, normally, 2 grams of cocaine will kill a man my size. You can build that up to where it would be 3 grams, right? Now, 2 grams of coke should kill a guy my size, but the tolerance in your body will get up. Now, take me and to a place I've never been in my entire life, right? Take me to a city I've never been in, where everything around me is completely different. And now I do the same amount of coke and my heart's going to explode, because my body is going to release a different amount of the brain chemical that's going on based on the fact that my surroundings are so much more unique and different. There is literally a bunch of science to back this off. And this happens to needle heroin addicts all the time. Guys that are shut-ins, guys that have their dope delivered and may not have left their apartment in 5 or 6 years. They just shoot dope and something happens and, they end up having to leave that place. And now they're, they may not have been out in 5 or 6 years. Now you go do the same size shot somewhere else and it's going to turn off your ticker. We get so accustomed to every single part of the ritual becomes so much an ingrained part of our addiction. If you're struggling so hard to quit smoking, I promise you this right here is a huge part of it. It really is. Packing down the cigarettes, every single part of that ritual that you do, all of it. Do you turn a cigarette upside down and put it back into the pack? All of these little things become such a damn ritual that you can't do your habit and blow out that ritual. If you were to eliminate all of that ritual, your habit becomes a lot less fun. You know how we know that? Because you tried patches, which delivered nicotine to you. Shouldn't have had a problem. You're still having nicotine. There was no reason to quit, right? There was no reason to feel withdrawal. There was no reason to feel cravings. What you were craving was the ritual. You already had nicotine. And if you tried gum, you had nicotine on demand. It was just like, okay, this is my time right after lunch. I'm going to have nicotine, but I'm going to do it with gum. That's just not the damn same thing, is it? It's not. Not that. I was a smoker. That first hit, man. You breathe the first hit of the cigarette out and it's just instantly, right? Your dopamine level just doubled. It's base level dopamine times 2, and it's faster than anything in the drug world. The delivery of that first hit of nicotine through a cigarette is faster than anything else. So gum ain't the same thing. It's nicotine, but it's not the same thing. So harm reduction, best case scenario for harm reduction, a Nicotrol inhaler. I understand that in other countries, you can buy them over the counter. I don't even know if we can still buy them, period, in the US, but if you can, you have to have a prescription for it. But it looks just like a little pen, about that long, and it delivers nicotine, but there's no liquid, there's no anything. You're actually breathing in almost like you would an inhaler, just a small crystalline kind of nicotine, right? That's the best case scenario for harm reduction because you still have your habit or whatever. If not, vaping. Now listen to me before anyone starts losing their mind. Vaping's more dangerous. No, it's not. I don't care what research you say you did. I don't care what. There's a big difference between just temperature, right? Seriously talk to doctors about this. The real issue is when you're lighting something on fire and breathing it into your lungs, that is a massive issue, right? And you can say whatever you want about the carcinogens and whatever that are in both. Really different. It's a temperature thing. That's what we're talking about. Now, you shouldn't be doing either, right? But that's not what this channel is about. I don't lecture people on not doing things, right? If you vape instead, you're going to be a lot cooler in terms of the what you're breathing into your lungs. Now, there are 2 very different kinds of vaping liquids. If you're going to do the harm reduction thing, look up the vape places in your city and find one that doesn't use fake stuff. For real. Like there are like, I don't know what you would call it, but it's like the organic version. When I vaped at the end, I had found this vape liquid that, if you were vaping coconut, they weren't using fake coconut flavor. The stuff was made by pulverizing coconut. And they had a whole list of all of the things that they had eliminated so that you could, what you were vaping was better than the commercial crap that they mass produce and bring in from China. So there's even harm reduction within harm reduction, right? However, you're way the hell better off. Now, here's the thing. Now, this is a very, 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 very popular conception. I'm not going to call it a misconception because this is real, right? Popcorn lung is real. Now, it is a particular flavor that is added to, and it is added to a lot of liquids that people vape, a bunch of them. But it's in higher doses in some, and you can Google what the flavor is. But the stuff that you buy over the end is absolutely awful. The mass-produced stuff is the worst stuff in the world. I bought a nebulizer and 9% saline solution to clean my lungs and do the ritual thing to quit smoking. Good for you, Martha. I'm telling you, best case scenario, people, the only thing that you're breathing into your lungs, period, is oxygen. That's it, right? And deep breathing exercises will change your life. But I am not the police. So if you can't quit and you've tried everything on planet Earth, right? Then maybe give harm reduction a try, because it is a better option, a far better option, right, than lighting something on fire. Also, and this is just it. You know what? You can get angry. You have my permission. You can get angry at me for this. I'm giving you my permission in advance. There is a gentleman that started a company called Bulletproof, right? You can look into this. He has Bulletproof coffee. You're probably familiar with Bulletproof coffee, right? But Bulletproof also has a whole bunch of stuff. And his pitch is he wanted to live to 125 to 135. And he believes that the human body is built for that. He doesn't believe we're built for a whole lot more than that, but he believes that the human body can live healthy to about 135. He sold a software company, got a bunch of money for doing it. He was 350 pounds. He was covered with acne. He sat on a couch and he played video games. And by his own admission, he said the people that hung out with him, he basically were paying to hang out with him because he was just not a nice person and he had a lot of issues. But funny thing happened. Somebody that was close to him cared enough to say to him, you know what? You're going to die. You are not just living a life you want. You're killing yourself. And, now the dude's got like a 34-inch waist, right? He's got a six-pack and he has spent all of his money to try and, sorry, I was reading something. This is one of those companies that it's about living your longest and your best life. Whether you like what he has to say or not, this is his theory. And this is what he blew all of his money on, to live to 135. And his opinion on nicotine is you really should be vaping. Like, I'm not kidding. If you see this guy, he says that nicotine is one of the all-time great relaxers for people on planet Earth. I'm not advocating, but I promise you this is the stance from the guy from Bulletproof Coffee. He said the things that we take to handle depression, when more often than not, one hit off of a vape, 6 times a day would do it for a person. So that's what he does. However, he limits himself. He does almost nothing else, right? And I shouldn't say that. He does other things, but everything he does is based on how much harm versus damage, right? How much relief versus how much damage, right? The patch plus not drinking plus exercise worked for me. Vaping wasn't a thing yet when I quit, and I quit probably 100 times, I swear. I quit because when you get thrown in prison, they're like, you're not getting anymore. That's it. You're done. Now, if you really want to smoke, you can do it. What you're going to smoke is chewing tobacco that has already been inside the mouth of a cop. He's going to spit it into a can. He's going to take that out with the spit, dry it all out, and turn it into something you can smoke. And yes, I'm not kidding. So it was really easy to quit, right? I wasn't about to smoke cop spit. When a cigarette came through, I smoked it. When a cigarette came through, like if it had a filter on the end of it and I had a shot at buying it, I absolutely bought it. I did, because I felt like I was cheating. And I even did that after I got sober. I even did that after I worked with Q. And he never gave me any crap about it. Honestly, I think he probably thought it was a decent thing that I had something I could sneak off and do. So I felt like a convict. He even said to me one day, he called me, I was at Unicorn. He called me in the back and said, "You ain't going to believe this." I said, "What?" He goes, "That douchebag cop that was just here." Cause there's a guy that is he's racist. Like everybody knows he's racist. He's just a piece of crap, but he only comes to pick up product. And when he does, he's grabbing all of the shirts and stuff we make, but he's just a reprehensible human being. You can literally see he's got lightning bolts and he's got it to make it look like the Twin Towers were falling down. But if you know what you're looking for, the guy's got lightning bolts on him. He's just a racist dude. So, but I'm like, yeah, why did he say something stupid? He goes, no, but he dropped a pack of Newports. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. They're about $25 a cigarette for Newports in there. And there were 19, 18. It was a full pack of cigarettes. It was an absolute full pack of cigarettes. And I was like, bro, you want half of these? He's like, I want half the money for those. I was like, all right, I will sling these puppies. And then I ended up having to pay Q because I smoked the entire pack. But I smoked it with a cellmate. So, when I got out, I vaped. And quitting the vaping was difficult. I was miserable, if you really want to know the truth. And I went from vaping to sucking on these little pouches that had nicotine in them. And then I went from that to stopping. Tampa B started back smoking by vaping. You know what? You don't hear this a lot, but this is a phenomenon. This does happen, right? People start vaping and they're like, you know what? I like the nicotine, but this ain't doing it. I want my habit back. That happens. That's the thing. To be sure, that is the thing. The Trips captain says, "Love the Zyn pouches." That's probably the best of harm reduction. That's nicotine and nothing else. But harm reduction. The best case scenario, people always across the board. The best case scenario is quitting. Make no mistake. It's about quitting. I just do not. I would rather have you cut down. I would rather have you, if you cannot quit. We have a guy on the boat. I haven't seen him here today, but we have a guy on the boat and he will pop in and he'll tell you. He quit smoking 30 years ago. And what that meant is 30 years ago, he was a 2-pack a day cigarette smoker. Now he buys a pack of cigarettes and it lasts him pretty close to 3 weeks. But he smokes a cigarette every single day. I don't know how that's possible. I really don't. It doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense to me. But that is what he does. And he is successful in it. If that works for you, that is harm reduction in a very big way. However, it's a cigarette a day, right? Better harm reduction would be no cigarettes any day. This individual also, by the way, he and I have had talks about this. He's not at all bummed out. I'm sharing this. I would not do this to anybody without permission. And I'm still not using his name, but we have talked about this at length. He also quit drinking. And I've told the story on here before, but we were going into court to support a friend of ours, just a beautiful human being that sadly went to prison for a DWI with substantial bodily harm and got a long prison sentence. And when we went in to support this person, we may or may not have to get up and speak on this person's behalf. And I kept telling him, look, you don't have to speak if you don't want to, right? I probably will need to, or thought I was going to because of the lifeboat thing. But he said, will you do me a favor and carry something through security for me? And I said, what? The guy on federal probation should carry something through security. What are you? And he had an airplane bottle full of vodka. And I said to him, you don't drink. He said, I don't. But this has been in my pocket. He said, I've broken them. I've lost them. I've set them down. I've never drank one. He said, but I always have one in my pocket. He said, but I'm afraid of going through security with it because I think I said, it's not going to set off a metal detector, that little metal cap. I said, give it to me. I'll carry it through. But the guy doesn't drink. If that works for him, fantastic. I don't think I could walk around with a bag of smack in my pocket. I don't understand anything of how this guy got sober, but he did, right? He did. Interesting. Interesting. Been vaping for a few years now. Have my fancy vape plus carry a disposable to stop me getting a cigarette when something happens with the vape. Anytime the vape breaks and I end up smoking, I hate it. Well, yeah, I mean, uh, Meredith Lynn smokes every night when I get home from work, but you do not smoke it all during the day. Wow. That's absolutely incredible that you can abstain all day and then do it when you come home. Meredith, again, I'm not Jiminy Cricket, but if you can not go all day, I bet you could not go all night, Meredith, and you don't have to make a bunch of them, right? Um, Andy Kaufman did die of lung cancer, and he was not a smoker of cigarettes. He was a pot smoker. I am all kinds of an advocate to not lighting anything on fire and breathing it into your lungs. Period. Period. I do not think anything should be lit on fire and breathed into your lungs. I just don't. And Andy Kaufman was a genius. He really was. And he was a genius that made you sit and wonder every time you watched him if he was a genius or he was a lunatic. He was just, I honestly couldn't tell if I was getting punked the entire time I watched him. You know how hard that is to do and pull off? I love the honesty of the lifeboat. I really do. I love the honesty of the people on this.
It is Tony Clifton thing. I never knew if he was.
Yeah, Tony Clifton was a great example. Was Tony Clifton? What was the deal with Tony Clifton? Huh? What was the deal with Tony Clifton? Jennifer Lemke. I love your honesty, Jennifer. I really do. This is just so cool. Look at this. Vaping. Well, I sort of get that. For example, I don't think it's good for teens to use weed, THC. Tetrahydrocannabinol, Delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol. However, I want my teen to try that over using an anxiety medication like barbiturates, right? Or like benzodiazepines. Now, this is I'm at the top of the hour, but this is really important, right? This is why talking to your kid and having really open conversations are important, because is it realistic that your kid's going to get off planet Earth without ever doing a drug? I don't know. My kids didn't. But you know something? Neither of them are addicted to anything. My son got addicted to alcohol. He didn't get addicted to weed. He got addicted to alcohol. And his mom was addicted to alcohol. But he quit. And I'm proud as hell of him. I'm more proud of Calhoun for that than anything he's going to do in life. I don't care what he does from this point on. There's nothing that's going to, that really is, to me, he beat it, and he beat it so much younger than I did. You know what I mean? I look at him and I go, oh my God, if you got an entire life ahead of you. You got so much, you're still healthy, your body's in great shape. He didn't really kick the crap out of himself. I mean, he wasn't good to himself either. Keep it real, he wasn't. And Spanx went through it. He did a homeless stretch, he did a thief stretch. My son went through it. He did what he had to do to survive. But and he shouldn't have had to, right? If his dad was in his life, that wouldn't have happened. I promise you, because he would have called me. But I wasn't there for him to call, right? Which is on me. Connection made such a difference yesterday for me, thanks to the lifeboat. My aunt was diagnosed with cancer. I am so sorry. Boy, that sucks, Mary. I am so sorry. You know what? Thoughts and prayers, well wishes, positive energy, whatever your get down is for Mary Jones, for your aunt, and for your family. That is so hard. Izzy, I love it. I really do, Izzy. I carried that one last cigarette for 3 years before I could let it go. I threw it in the trash eventually, but for a while it helped. A reminder that I was making the choice. It's weird, but it worked. Izzy, I had somebody on the lifeboat who said they carried a full pack of cigarettes, right, for 15 years. Had it in their truck, in their work truck, whatever, for the entire time. And then one day somebody talked them into throwing it out. And when he went to get the next pack, he opened it and started smoking. So that just Look, man, if it works, keep doing it. Don't let anybody tell you to do anything different. Tell them to shut up. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm telling you, don't listen to me. If what you're doing is working and you're clean and sober, don't take my method, right? You got a method, stick with whatever's working for you. I promise. You can get to the finish line any way you get there, right? This is peer support. This isn't me telling anybody that you have to live like I live or like anybody else lives for that matter. I'm just spitting out stuff that I read that I think is pretty cool, that works for me. I go and I bring that stuff in. By the way, I'm doing a video here today about our friend Danny Masterson. There was a lot of news reported yesterday that Danny Masterson is in Chino at his prison. He's not. He's still in the county jail. I'm not trying to bum anybody out, but the assumption that he was there, coupled with the forthwith terminology that the judge used, which, you know, Aaron said in his video, he had to look the phrase up from a legal standpoint. I know that legal phrase. And what it means is he can't not be on the next bus. They've been letting buses go one after another without him. He'll be gone within probably tops a week. Now, if you look him up, someone's going to write, I saw his name and I saw his name and he's in Chino. Danny Masterson is in Chino, but it ain't that Danny Masterson. The Danny Masterson that you guys are thinking of, he happens to be in the county jail. The other man who wishes his name was something else, right? That Danny Masterson who's in Chino, he's not in there for the same thing either. So we're looking at two different people. So I'm going to do a Danny Masterson update because I would like everyone to know what was really happening with that, because I think the people, all parties involved who really are hanging on this justice would like to know what's going on. And he's not currently he's still in the county jail. But I promise you, I do not think he's going to spend Christmas in the county jail. He's going to spend Christmas in prison. And he's going to get there. He's going to get there at the worst time on planet Earth to be in a prison, to just arrive. Because nobody there is very happy about being there. Seriously. The week before Christmas, Christmas week, and the week after Christmas are the most dangerous time you can be in a prison. Anybody that's done time will back me up on this. It is a dangerous time. Yeah, right? I mean, this is real, Ben Turner. This is real. I've told this story before, but I lived in Utah. I lived in Salt Lake City for a period of time with my family. And my birth name was the same name as a undercover cop who is notorious in Utah. So I come rolling into prison, and this is the first yard I've hit, right? Never been to a federal prison. I get there, and I am now surrounded by people from Utah, because this is where all Utah people get sent to, because it's the closest yard to Salt Lake City. So all these guys are there, and the guy's like, hey, what do they call you? And I thought to myself, you know what? I normally got called Rock or Rocco. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a bazillion rocks in here. I'm not going to go with that. Maybe I'll just go with my name, right? So I'm like, I handed the dude my prison ID, and I started unpacking my stuff. And he's like, yeah, I'll go get you some, some clothings and this and that. And all of a sudden I had like 4 guys in the room, man. Guys pushing up on me and this and that. And a dude came walking in and said, hey, what the hell's going on here? He's like, you know who this is, man? And once the guy told him, he goes, hey, bro, that narc busted me. He's like, Miller, the same guy you're talking about? He's like, that's the narc that busted me. He's like, he's 5'5". He's like, this dude's got to be 6'2". He's like, this ain't him. I promise you. I'm like, holy hell. And the guy said to me, he looked at me, he goes, you got a nickname? You're going to want it on this yard. I was like, yeah, Rock. But yeah, it doesn't take much. Now, had I been at a USP, the fellows wouldn't have even pushed up on me. Because they're so organized. There's no mistaken identity at the top levels. You would be really surprised at how thorough they are before they decide to hit somebody. Like no one's getting hit on somebody's word. If I go in and I grew up with this dude. I've known him since I was 6. This dude's got 9 cases against women. This dude has 3 cases against kids. They're going to look at me and go, yeah, okay. You got 72 hours, bro. Clock's ticking. Get the paperwork to prove that. because you just accused somebody of something that you better be able to prove, right? You had better be able to prove what you just accused that guy of, or they're going to treat you like everything you accused him of is your crime. Straight up. It is a bad thing to do. No, the dude with his name, like I said, the fellas don't want to make mistakes. They really don't. You know, they do not want to make mistakes. And I'm going to go out on a limb, unless this dude happens to be short with curly hair, right? And a beard. Like if he really looks like him, maybe, but no, I don't think there's going to be much chance of that. I bet he catches a lot of crap though. I bet a lot of people in there give him a bunch of crap. You know, I bet they call him Hyde. I bet he gets all kinds of crap. And when Danny was in the news, he was getting a lot more crap. I guarantee you this guy did not like being, Danny Masterson's namesake or doppelganger or whatever the hell he is. All right, people, that's a wrap. Paddles. Yes, I believe the name was Paddles. Pause. I got called Pause for a long time too, but that was in the state joint. And that was a nickname given to me. PAWS. All right, people, I gotta roll. The cat's busy. Martha, I'm doing a whole show on this in about 3 hours. That is the show I'm doing. So if you want the answer to that question, right here, 3 hours. Thank you, Ben Turner. All right, the cat is sleeping. We'll see you all later. Bye-bye.